Hello, and welcome to the U.S. Agency for Global Media's Investiture Ceremony. My name is Laurie Moy, and I'm so glad that you're joining us, whether you're watching from Prague, Miami, Johannesburg, or here in Washington, D.C. As that opening video just described, the incredible impact that this agency has around the world is thanks to you. The diverse workforce that makes up USAGM is a dedicated and mission-driven group of professionals, from journalists to engineers, coders to HR specialists, researchers to floor directors. We all work together to inform, engage, and connect people around the world in support of freedom and democracy. And while our purpose today is to formally welcome our new CEO, Amanda Bennett, we are also here to celebrate you. This past year, more than 410 million people watched, listened to, or read content created by USAGM networks each week. This, despite intense efforts all over the world to block access to independent reporting. It's clear that our audiences are hungry for the truth and will go to great lengths to get it. Ours is a broad organization with 6 entities producing content in 63 languages, 50 overseas bureaus and production centers, 100 transmission sites in more than 40 countries worldwide, and more than 4,000 affiliates around the world. But for as spread out and diverse as we are all united under a single mission. There's no way we could highlight all of the talent and hard work that you all bring, but we asked each of the entities who they thought embodied USAGM's mission. Take a look.
I was born in the Soviet Union and I went to school the same year that Gorbachev announced his perestroika.
Je rêvais de devenir un jour reporter pour VOA grâce à mon père, un vrai fan de la radio.
As a Cuban refugee, this is a very important work for me.
I started as a researcher examining how closed societies obtained and processed information.
J'écoutais beaucoup de gens, j'ai regardé les télévisions, mais je ne voyais pas de reporters noirs sur le front. Je ne voyais que des reporters blancs.
This work is important to me because it gives me a chance to give my people a voice.
Cuba Al Día serves an instrument for those who has no voice in Cuba.
And I'm very honored to work in a newsroom without any censorship and to give a voice for the voiceless.
I felt the need to help my people first and the rest of the world by reporting about the humanitarian atrocities and the truth about so-called IS.
This is our mission to bring unbiased, independent information to people in Russia and neighboring countries.
To report rights abuses and exploitation and injustice in the country while people do not know or have access to know the truth.
Nous sommes menacés, que ce soit à l'intérieur, que ce soit à l'externe, à cause de notre indépendance.
Being a journalist in Venezuela is like walking on broken glass. You have to act carefully to get the stories you want to tell, because whether in a hospital, in a poor community, or even in a popular market, you can find a policeman, a military officer, or a government supporter who seeks to restrain us from doing our job.
The closure of the Moscow bureau, the closure of some other bureaus in our patch, the war, the persecution, these are the challenges that just inspire us to do better.
For journalists, reporting well on such a complex world is challenge enough. We want to make sure that digital surveillance doesn't stymie those efforts and that digital censorship doesn't prevent audiences from reaching the really high-quality reporting that those journalists are doing.
Being a reporter in a war zone had serious challenges. The biggest is maintaining my safety, humanity, and professionalism. Every day, every story posed a risk of being kidnapped or killed or losing someone that I care about.
If not us, who will bring that truth?
I'm proud that I have been able to tell authentic stories that highlights the plight of the most vulnerable people in the community, women and children.
I am proud to be a tool of communication for those average citizens to express their opinion, their concern, and their desire.
For our teams in Venezuela and Nicaragua, it's a privilege. Voice of America is our vehicle to defeat censorship in a country where a tweet or an opinion can send you to jail.
I'm proud of those who are currently on the front line risking their lives to get the information to the audiences in Ukraine and in Russia.
Being able to work in an independent newsroom makes me proud.
For me and my colleagues, ensuring effective journalism, essentially the lifeblood of a pluralistic society, can't be switched off with the click of a button, is hugely motivating.
This is our task, this is our mission, this is our challenge, and this is what we will be doing for the days, weeks, months, and years to come.
Can we have a round of applause for this? I'd now like to welcome to the podium former acting CEO Kalu Chao. Kalu has worked in international media for 4 decades and has filled a myriad of critical roles. So her appointment as USAGM CEO by President Biden in January 2021 was well celebrated. She is an intrepid journalist and a dedicated public servant. Please welcome Kalu Chao.
Thank you, Laurie, and thank you, everyone. As an immigrant to this country and a longtime journalist of this agency, I have seen firsthand the power of a free press. In every fight against oppression, in every fight to protect democracy and freedom, press has played a critical role. This is why I'm so thrilled that Amanda Bennett will be leading the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Amanda is a thoughtful, visionary, and fair-minded journalist. She is an inspiring and fearless leader. She will fight to protect the safety and independence of journalists. She will fight to make sure the news, good or bad, make sure that the news gets to our audiences everywhere. Her bipartisan confirmation shows just how critical it is to Congress and to our stakeholders that USAGM continues to deliver on its important mission. I join our entire agency in welcoming Amanda to her new role. Amanda, would you please join me as we begin your ceremonial swearing-in as Chief Executive Officer of USAGM, U.S. Agency for Global Media. I state your name.
I, Amanda Bennett,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental hesitation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office that I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay. Please.
Kalu, could I just have you come back up here for a second, please? Kalu doesn't know what's coming. So before you sit down, I want to say a few words of appreciation. Over the past year and a half, I've watched from the outside as you've selflessly served this agency and its mission. But your commitment to the mission goes back much further than that. In fact, it goes back approximately 4 decades. And I'd like to take a moment to reflect on that time. Kalu doesn't know this is here. We asked her colleagues to provide pictures, and they were just so eager to do so. From the very beginning, your integrity and work ethic were obvious. And although the fashion may have changed since then, your commitment to excellence in journalism has not. As you worked your way through the Voice of America, it was clear that your leadership would influence all who worked with you. And the support you've offered has touched lives all over the world. You've passionately defended independent media, press freedom, and journalist safety, and you have brought change, much needed change, to this agency. But most of all, you've been a role model, a true public service, and on behalf of all of us at USAGM, I want to thank you. And one last thing, I am beyond thrilled to present you this Distinguished Honor Award.
Oh. Thank you.
Can we please, here we go. Thank you.
I'm speechless. Thank you for, it's all for the freedom of the press that we cast our time and efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here to you. Oh.
So I view today as a moment of celebration, not for me, but for our entire USAGM community and our shared mission, and most importantly, all of you. There's probably never been a time when every single one of you inside this agency, at the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, at Middle East Broadcasting Networks, at Radio Free Asia, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, and at the Open Technology Fund, has ever been more important to our mission. Before I get ahead of myself, I'd like to say a few thank yous. Thank you to my husband, Don, who held the Bible here. My son, my son, Terry, my daughter, Georgia, my stepchildren, Laura, Liza, Will, and Molly, my late husband, Terrence Foley, and my mentors, Sandra Mims Rowe and Chuck Camp. Thank you also to 2 people who really gave a lot of service to this agency during a difficult time, VOA's acting director, Yolanda Lopez, and former acting director, Elez Biberaj. You did incredible work over the past few years. And to everyone from the USAGM community who has reached out. I'm grateful to all of you for your generosity, support, and encouragement. Journalism has been my life, and joining you all here is a dream job. As I said in my confirmation hearing, we are at a critical moment in history, and you know that better than anyone. Journalism is getting more dangerous around the world and ever more necessary. Yet there are over 3,000 of you in the global USAGM community who make the hard and sometimes dangerous choice to stand up for freedom and democracy every day. In taking that stand, you've managed to tackle some of the most challenging and difficult issues we've seen in our lifetimes. From the coup in Myanmar, to the frantic efforts to evacuate our colleagues in Afghanistan, to the street protests in Cuba, from the invasion of Ukraine to the recent protest in Iran. And all of this, despite facing the harshest conditions, including negotiating a global pandemic and reporting from dangerous conflict zones. I'm so grateful to be joining the ranks of such a passionate, dedicated, and above all, brave group of people that I admire. As we continue our work together, I promise you that I will do everything in my power to foster the best conditions possible to enable you to provide critical news and information to the world. After many rounds of thoughtful feedback and discussion with many of you, I want to share the 5 priorities that will guide us as we meet our mission. And the first is obviously independence, without which we are nothing. Ensuring journalistic independence for every broadcaster and entity is my #1 priority. After that, journalistic safety, security, training, and ethics to make sure that our journalists are given training in all aspects of their job, including staying secure in this increasingly dangerous environment, and ensuring that our journalism meets the highest possible standards and ethics. Mission focus. As you've seen, the entire reason that USAGM exists is to support the mission of all broadcasters and entities. And every action we take must be evaluated against this standard. How does this support the mission? Transparency and simplicity. We demand transparency and accountability from the leaders, the organizations, and the institutions we cover, and we need to model that transparency in everything that we ourselves do. And access. We must get our information into closed societies. If we can't reach our audiences, even our best journalistic efforts are useless. The video we saw earlier in the program says it all, and I confess that even after seeing it a couple times, I still get teary about it. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the dedication of people like Hebar Othman at MBN, Kirill Sukoski at RFERL, Nat Kretchum at OTF, Tomas Cardoso at OCB, Zinmar Win from RFA, Adriana Nunez Rabascal from VOA, Austir Malakveka from VOA, and Huba Abdi of VOA. In addition, I want to acknowledge my colleagues, the leaders of the 6 organizations on the front line of our mission. As we mentioned, Acting VOA Director Yolanda Lopez, Jamie Fly of RFE, Sylvia Rosabal of Office of Cuba Broadcasting, Bei Fang at Radio Free Asia, Hassan Shwiki at Middle East Networks, and Laura Cunningham of the Office of Technology Freedom. And each and every one of you, from the news anchors to those keeping our transmitters fueled and powered, and more. You are the spark that ignites our mission, and I can't wait to see all that we will accomplish together. Every day and with every piece of information our agency brings to light, we chip away collectively at barriers to freedom and democracy. And we all know from watching history, both near and far, that information has the power to change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, and congratulations. Before we close, I want to remind you about a few upcoming events. Today's ceremony is actually just the start of a very eventful week. First, on Friday, I hope you will join us for the 21st Annual David Berg Distinguished Journalism Awards. For the first time this year, in addition to honoring excellent journalism created by USAGM's networks, we will also celebrate accomplishments made in providing safe and secure access to that content. So you won't want to miss it. It's Friday, December 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern, and the ceremony will be streamed on the agency's website, usagm.gov. And then, 1 week from today, on Tuesday, December 13th, we'll invite CEO Bennett back for her first USAGM Global Town Hall. Staff from the agency, as well as all of the networks, are invited to join at 9:30 Eastern, right here on Workplace. We'll be joined by network leadership, agency senior staff, and of course, CEO Amanda Bennett. And she'll explain in more detail some of her initial priorities, as well as be available to answer your questions. We will also remember RFERL's Ukrainian service journalist Vera Hirik, who was killed earlier this year in a Russian airstrike in Kiev. An email has already gone out with the information on how to watch and how to submit questions in advance. You can also find that information here on Workplace. Again, congratulations to CEO Bennett and to all of you for your amazing hard work. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.